Hello and welcome back to our tutorial series on how to use GreenScenario. In this episode, we're looking at the building component, which can be found here on the ribbon. It's one of the most complex components when it comes to the options that it presents us with. So let's just go through them one by one. First is the building type, whether it's commercial or residential, and it has influence on the water usage patterns in the building. So when we'll be looking at this particular category over here, water use, in conjunction with some additional storage elements, it will play a role whether it's a residential or commercial building. In residential buildings, we typically have water use constant throughout the week, whereas in commercial buildings, we mostly use water from Monday till Friday, and the weekends are not taken into account. We'll explain this topic once we'll look specifically at potable water savings calculations. Next parameter is number of levels, so we can influence how high the building is, and it works in conjunction with the floor height slider over here. So the lower this value over here, or the higher it is, the taller the building. It can have obviously multiple buildings and multiple levels, and the overall height is essentially a multiplication of how many levels do I have and how high is each of these. Then the next slider helps me define the water use amount in this building. And when you hover over the name over here, you can see that it's in liters per square meters a day. And so what we would need to type in here is we would need to understand what kind of usage patterns do we have, how many people are occupying this building, and then we would say, for example, that it's on average 1.5 liters per square meter of this building that we need in terms of potable water. And then there is a radio button selection. Is this building used for stormwater collection, yes or no? And what do we mean by this is that typically a cistern that we could connect to the building, it would capture all the water hitting the rooftop of this building. And then so using this menu over here, we're telling the software that yes, please calculate the area of the roof as a catchment area for our cistern. By default this is set to no, so we need to explicitly tell the software which buildings contribute to our cisterns capturing water. And again, we'll look into this topic a little bit later once we start connecting all the components together. Then for the roof type, we have three options. Either it's a conventional or we have two types of green roofs. So either it's extensive or intensive, and you can see that there's differences in different KPIs depending on which one we choose. And there is also a facade selector, and then we can then choose, do we want a conventional facade, which is by default activated, or do we want green facades, soil or system based? And then when we rotate around the building, you will see that one of the facades is automatically selected as green. So here it will be soil based, and this is a system based facade. And now you can notice that there is this additional input selector that allows us to say which facade exactly would we like to have connected. So we can just take one of the buttons and then say just double click on the canvas, type 2, and then it has generated a slider for me that allows us to input different values into the component. And what you need to understand is that Grasshopper always calculates starting from 0. So this is facade number 0. If I move it to 1, this is 1. Then number 2 is over here, and this is facade number 3. Right? So either I could select, for example, one of the wider facades and say that only this one should be calculated. Or what we could also do is we could just create a series of numbers, and then if it starts at 0, and the step would be 1, so, which is perfect, and then we would only need to connect this count input, and then say we want 3 of them, and then we would have 0, 1, 2 green, and we would leave out the other one, or we can just say no, actually we want all of them, or only half, 0 and 1. So you can combine different inputs however you want, and then make them green. And it will be true, or GreenScenario always like kind of chooses the whole wall. So if we were to lower down the floor height and then make it a little bit higher, then all the selected facades and of the higher floors will also be green. And of course, you can also just turn it off and then go back to conventional. Same thing with the rooftops, and go back to residential, change the number of levels. This is how you would control the building appearance and all the related calculations with it.